Welcome to this video, guys. Today we're going to talk about our Ronin Shinobi or our Shinobi Ronin, whichever one you want to go around. So basically, to help me out, get yourself a copy of this, guys. Anthony Cummins' Ninja Skills, the Authentic Ninja Training Manual. Tons of info. Get a copy of that. Start your ninja training. Okay, right. Ronin and Shinobi. So are Shinobi considered Ronin or not? Now, Blake has asked this question, I think I've got his question right. I've written it down, but sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. So, basically, what function do Shinobi come under? Do they become under the idea of retainer or Ronin? Are they sometimes Ronin? Can Ronin be Shinobi? All of that. So let's first of all deal with Ronin. I have a big issue with the word Ronin. I think it's really annoyingly misleading in our samurai community, if you like, our research community, because most people come across Ronin from the films, and most films focus on Ronin during the Ronin problem, or they focus on Ronin at the very end of samurai times, 2 times where it's not good to be a Ronin. So you've got the Ronin problem, which is where basically any samurai who are who lose their job, lose their position, become Ronin, and they're not allowed to be re-employed. And this is the early 1600s, basically. And you can look this up on Wiki. It's all there. The Ronin of Japan, the early 1600s. It's a right nightmare. It's a proper nightmare for the government. You've got people who are losing their jobs, or because everything's closing down in size, and there's no more wars going on, the Ronin have got nothing to do. So they're hanging around, causing a lot of problems, acting as bodyguards, acting as assassins, murderers, thieves, doing things they have to survive because they don't want to actually go and do any work. It's like their ancestors have not worked for the last 12 generations. What do you mean I've got to go dig in a field? No thanks. So they'll just rob someone. So you get loads of these robber knights hanging around Japan. In the end, eventually, and this almost comes up to the Keian uprising with Yui Shosetsu, and the Ronins might actually try and have a go, and in the end the government suppress the uprising, get rid of the Ronin laws, allow people to be rehired, and start redistributing them within society, and it calms down. At the end of the 1800s, you've got another problem where everybody's getting poor. Samurai are just poor because or lower end samurai are poor, and Ronin are especially poor. They've got nothing to do, to be honest. They're really in a dangerous place. When I say Ronin, basically lower end samurai and problems at the end of the the end of the Edo period, but that's another. It's just his general history that they're in problems because there's no land's been divided multiple times, the incomes have gone, the structure of society is collapsing like that. The Americans come in and change it all. Boom. So your opinion of Ronin, mostly, not everyone's, but when I say your, I mean the average person of Ronin, is from those 2 time periods. But actually, being a Ronin in earlier times was an excellent thing, and most samurai would be Ronin. In fact, to be a generational retainer was an amazing feat. And many samurai, hundreds of thousands of samurai were probably generational retainers. But you get tons of retainers who are not. They're just doing the circuit, almost like freebooters. So in the Sengoku period, they're doing the circuit around like, oh, well, that guy's having a war, let's go. And there's so much historical information on this. This is not, against the normal history. This is totally in normal history, but nobody really pays attention to it. Is Ronins are moving en masse. So then you become a Ronin actually mercenaries. So then you've got the idea of mercenaries, and which I've talked about this with Stephen Turnbull, or on a video about Stephen Turnbull's work as well. Ronin is a difficult thing to pin down because mercenary is a difficult thing to pin down. So Stephen Turnbull, in his newer book, Unmasking the Ninja, or The Ninja Unmasked, or something like that, actually talks about the idea of shu, the kanji for shu being used for people, meaning it might not be a hereditary group, it might just be this type of group. But I don't want to go deep into that because I need to do more research in Japan. But just to be aware, Stephen Turnbull has discussed this idea that the Shinobi shu could be permanent retainers, just a group put together. But I will do more on that in the future after I've been to Japan and been asked some more questions. So what we've got is the foundation of Ronin are around in Japan. They're just chilling out, they're getting hired, they go to the next lord, the captain of the Ronin will go along, most likely, I'm imagining this how it happens, captain of the Ronin goes along, gets hired and says, I've got 100 men, can I join you? Okay. Now we do know that I think I can't remember who it was, but basically one Ronin from the Takeda forces had stolen someone's head on a battlefield and nicked it. So whoever was in charge of at the time, I can't remember who it was, but basically somebody who's in charge got rid of all the Takeda realm Ronin and said, no, one of you 100 have nicked a head and it wasn't correct, so get out. So these samurai, they are samurai. Ronin is samurai. It's a masterless samurai. It's still samurai. And these Ronin were kicked off the battlefield, so they probably went and joined the other side, in fairness. So, but basically you get this idea of bands of warriors running around being hired out to different people. Are they, some of them, shinobi? Absolutely, some of them shinobi. Bansen Shukai talks about this, absolutely. It says when war is about to come, or you know war is coming, go get yourself hired by the enemy. And it says normally, if you just say you're from Iga and Koka, they give you like, oh right, you want to be a shinobi from Iga and Koka? Yeah, let's see your demonstration, let's see this. The point being is there's absolutely the idea of warriors who are trained as ninja going round to the different provinces in the 1500s saying, I'll fight for you, I'll do this, and I'll work as a ninja, and say, okay, we'll pay you this much for this amount of time. They don't become generational retainers, but off they go to the next war and things like that. We only get snippets of this through history because most of the time people are talking about generational retainers. So most people say you should use shinobi that you can count upon, you know their pedigree, you know that they've got a good background, and it even says if you have to deal with Iga and Kokomono, know that you can't trust everything because you've only just met them, you know, that type of thing. So are Ronin shinobi, Ronin, whichever way around you want to phrase the question, and depending on which angle you want to come at it. Basically, there are Ronin who were going around, who were hiring themselves out as shinobi. Without a doubt, we can just say that just through context of the world and the way we have documents saying that, you know, such a things happen. But also, so that's Ronin acting as shinobi. Are shinobi considered Ronin, people on the wave because they move around? Probably not. You have generational ones. You have the shinobi shu, which means they are groups that stay with people. But also, we definitely have the idea of people from Iga going out fighting on war and then coming back and going out fighting on war, and they're hired out across the world and they are technically Ronin. So shinobi who are trained as shinobi becoming Ronin, going around hiring themselves out, and some people who are Ronin hire themselves out who may also be trained as shinobi, depending on which angle you want to come at the question, do exist. There you go, guys. I hope like that answers your question. I'm going to take that off my machine. So here's my questions machine. You bloody lot will not stop asking questions. Okay, right. Real shinobi Ronin done. So just be careful when you use the words Ronin in Japanese context. Don't think of it of the sort of the way the Japanese movies portray it. It's not quite that. And as a little side note, most Clint Eastwood films are based on the Japanese Ronin. So if you don't know, a lot of Japanese films took their inspiration from the West, but then the West watched Kurosawa do his films and then took inspiration and made like the Clint Eastwood films, where you got the guy who's like the one great gunslinger. It's the same thing. Oh, I'm a great sword master, I'm a great gunslinger, I've cocked hat and a stick out of the mouth. Even Clint Eastwood said this comes from the Japanese, I think he said, it was in an interview, it comes from the Japanese films where they have a piece of grass. The reason that Ronin have a piece of grass in their mouth is to say, I've eaten. It actually should technically be a toothpick, and it proves that you've eaten something. So even hungry Ronin who hadn't, they put it in the mouth to say, I've eaten, I'm okay. And that's why Clint Eastwood has something in his mouth. It ends up being a cigar. It's from the Japanese. So there you go, guys. Enjoy, and I'm off for a walk with the dogs.